Welcome back. Happy 2026. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I have created my Mind Style Makeover method, where I have taught this method to students, parents, and educators. And while we've done incredible work in building resilience in literally thousands of students, parents, and educators across multiple cities in the United States and internationally, I've noticed something alarming within the last year. The exact same burnout that we are seeing in schools is happening at an alarming rate in our healthcare systems. And I realized that in order to make the biggest impact, I need to take this operating system of the Mind Style method to the front lines where it is literally a matter of life and death. So while I will always love my education community, you are going to see my content shift specifically towards healthcare leadership and workforce retention. And that brings me to today's topic. So, whether you are a nurse manager or a parent, it is crucially vital for you to understand the difference between grit and resilience. A 70-year-old man asked me this yesterday, and the answer changes everything. Let's get into it. Why grit is the reason why you're exhausted, and it's not what you think it is. So I'm going to paint the picture for you. I was at church yesterday, and this 70-year-old gentleman was talking and asking me about my work. And once he learned about what I specialize in as a human performance strategist, he then asked, well, what would you say the difference is between resilience and grit? I said, well, the bare bones of it, resilience is the ability for an individual to bounce back from a challenging time. Grit is the individual's will to press through that challenging time, regardless of what notifications are coming up within their psychological or physiological well being. Let's paint the picture. Resilience is something of which every single human innately has. Every single one of us have resilience for certain types of challenges. We're able to navigate better than others. And some, it's just, it could be the same exact challenging situation on the job that that team member is completely falls to smithereens at. They're not able to bounce back from that situation as easily as someone else. However, every single human innately has resilience built within our DNA. And that's the hope. The hope is that for each of us, we're able to build, grow, deepen resilience within each of ourselves. Now, resilience it comes where it plays an incredible role in situations where the individual may not have prior knowledge or experience of how to navigate the challenge in the present that they're facing. However, they have the gumption to give it a go. And there are different motivational drivers that's connected to that, and we'll explore those a bit more as we dive deeper into resilience versus grit. Um, but whatever those drivers are, that individual makes a decision to explore forward movement into exploration of how to resolve the challenge at hand. And oftentimes, when any one of us just imagine, remember back to your first time on the job. There were many things of which you were not familiar with. You're in a completely different environment, completely different work culture, different people, different leadership structure. The way in which things are done are is all new to you, right? So there is going to be a lot where resilience comes into play. What do I mean? Well, you tried things, it didn't work, or you did something without prior knowledge of how it is expected to be done, whether it was a gap in training or maybe you just didn't remember what they went over with you in that training, and you faltered, you dropped the ball, you made a mistake, right? Resilience is being able to, oh, whoa, made a mistake, let me get up, learn from it, and then try again for better results. So, resilience provides the opportunity for that individual to get better and to build strength and confidence in their experience and also building that knowledge bank. I know how to do this now because I have implemented the steps, failed through the process, learned from the failures, and now have built back stronger, more confidence. And I now have wisdom and understanding of how this works. Resilience. So it's something that is teachable. It's a skill that can be improved upon in every single one of us. But the good thing is that we know all of us have it. Grit is something that, again, we all have. And what has tend to happen within our culture is, so grit is, you already have the knowledge of. You know what to do in this situation. However, you are tired, you're exhausted. You may have been facing something already at home that has your mental capacity drained. But here you are on the front lines and it is an emergency. You know what to do. You're tired, you're exhausted. However, you've got to press through because this could be life or death for the person involved in this situation. And you press through. The next situation comes up. You have support, but then let's just call it what it is. Pride gets in the way, or fear of someone else messing up what you know well to do, and you don't like you're already burnt out, you're spent for the shift. You don't have the extra bandwidth to explain and walk this new team member through the process in order to give yourself some relief. So then you grit your teeth and you push through again anyways. Over time of gritting through, grinding through, it leads for systematic failure, burnout, where you get sick, you can't move forward, you're then you start missing steps, things that you know, and then you start missing things. Then what does that lead to? It leads to a spiraling of where you're like, oh my god, oh my gosh, am I not good at what I do anymore? The questioning, the self-doubt, the what is it? The um there's a phrase that has become so popular in culture and is on the tip of my tongue, but you get where I'm going, is where you're second guessing your ability and knowledge. And it's not that you don't know what you're doing. You have the experience, you have the knowledge, you've put in the hours, you put in the study, you put in the actual doing of this work. You're just tired. Now, when I was talking to this older gentleman, I said, now, he wanted me to tie in the difference between the younger generation that's coming into the healthcare workforce versus the older generation that is leading within that space. What's the big difference? I said, well, one of the big differences and the things, one is the preconceived judgments that each groups have towards one another. And when we have preconceived judgments, it puts up walls versus creating bridges for us to be able to learn from one another in order to strengthen where we may be weak in areas. One thing that the older generation pride themselves on is their work ethic, to push through, grind through, have the grit to get it done. But what has that led to? That has led to faster burnout. And oftentimes it leads to greater inefficiencies in the work when we're trying to press through when we are tired, we are exhausted, we are spent, and somehow or another, we have been taught in work culture to wear that exhaustion as a badge of honor. But where does that leave where does it leave the individual? Where does it leave your quality of life? The younger generation that's coming into the healthcare industry right now, they're looking at that and saying, well, I don't want that for myself. I do want good quality of life. And it can then lead to work ethic not being well rounded out. And that also leads to gaps in operation and efficiency. So we are in a incredible space right now of where we can redesign how the approach is taken towards building up efficiencies within how we approach healthcare, starting from the practitioner to the patient. How do we build up resilience within those that are taking care of the entire healthcare system and the lives of those that come in contact with it, the patients? And having the understanding between the stark difference of resilience and grit, and the dangers of not knowing the difference between the two, and how it can help to elevate the OS, the operating system, is going to be vital. So on our next conversation, we're going to be talking about ways in which we can fix the operating system with introducing effective resilience building in order to improve human performance. If this is interesting or helpful to you in any way, make sure that you give me a follow for more.